A very good afternoon and welcome to the second day of the online capacity building program, Blended Learning for Teachers of Higher Education working in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Today is the second day and we have with us Professor B Raj Shaker. Let me introduce Professor B Raj Shaker to you all first. Professor B Raj Shaker is currently working as a professor in the School of Business Studies, University of Hyderabad. He has a commendable track record in the field of higher education as an academician and academic administrator. Professor Rajshekhar is associated with the School of Management Studies since its inception in June 1999. And he is also coordinating a postgraduate diploma in business management offered by the Center for Distance Education and Virtual Learning, University of Hyderabad. He was also associated with the Telangana State Public Service Commission as one of the members of the committee for the formulation of the scheme and syllabus. As the Dean of the School of Management Studies, University of Hyderabad, Professor Shaker has played a significant role in launching a unique MBA program in business analytics at the University of Hyderabad. He has successfully coordinated two MOOCs, namely in research methodology for data analysis for social sciences through ARPIT of MHRD. Professor Shaker is appointed as one of the members of the expert committee constituting learning outcome-based curriculum framework for management. Professor Shaker has participated in LEAP of MHRD at the Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, and Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, and a one-week training program on becoming a top university. A very warm welcome to Professor B Raj Shaker. Now, before the session, I would like all the participants to make a note that participation certificates will be given only to those participants who participate in all the 5 days of the coming log session right from the first day till the last day. B Raj Shaker, Professor B Raj Shaker, please. I now request Professor Raj Shaker to interact with the participants, please.
Thank you, Ravindranath. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, let me share my screen.
Professor Rajshekhar, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, continue, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so now it
Sir,
is,
yes, sir.
yeah, now it is 3-6. We can go up to 5-5-15 based on the your interest or motivation. This is the slide at which we have stopped yesterday. The concepts of blended learning. So we have discussed a lot about the blended learning yesterday, the advantages when compared to offline teaching, how it is different from Yeah. So how it is different from offline teaching. And we have also seen the comparison between online and offline. And finally, we have concluded that there are some advantages and disadvantages with both the methods of learning. So finally, we have concluded that, neither online nor offline is totally effective. So let us have combination of these two. That is what is called blended learning or hybrid learning. So we would like to encourage students to get into this blended learning and take the advantage of and take the best of both the methods. For which, as we have seen yesterday in the discussion, there are a lot of challenges. So what kind of challenges we have spoken, and we were trying to address some of them, but still there may be some issues and some challenges. But let us try to understand this whole philosophy of blended learning in more systematic and scientific manner, and how the students can be engaged, and what are the models of blended learning, how the students can be engaged in blended learning, and followed by challenges of blended learning, and especially implementing blended learning in our Indian context, especially in both Telugu states, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, what would be its kind of impact on the student learning process. So blended learning offers access to the widest range of learning modes and methods of developing student skills and expertise them. So yesterday there was a discussion that how skills can be incorporated into the curriculum. So because most of the time, we say that the skills are most important. The knowledge transmission can happen, but how the skills can be given, imparted to the students. So that is where there are several widest range of learning modes and methods for developing student skills and expertise them. So the quality blended learning experience can be achieved only when the content and activities of both in-person and online are integrated with one another. So this is what we are trying to say. Both the methods to be integrated and work towards the same learning outcomes with the same content. So we need to have the learning content for the same learning same content, but we would like to have the same learning outcomes. So the various learning experiences are synthesized, complement each other, and are planned or orchestrated to run in parallel. So they are not competing each other. They are actually collaborating. They are complementing. So let us not put a debate between what is good, what is bad. So both are equally good, both are equally bad. So that is where, of course, the only thing is we have been into offline teaching for the past several decades, and suddenly switching over from online to online is a challenging task. But as we have agreed yesterday, the COVID has helped up to some extent. But definitely I can say that, online teaching alone is not sufficient enough to probably educate the student community. That is where, we are now proposing this new mode. So during the technology mediated components of blended learning experiences, students are not required to be physically present together in one place, but may be connected digitally through online communities. So today, all of you are sitting at your own offices or homes, and I am sitting in my own office, but still we were able to connect and we were able to continue our teaching learning process. So this is the advantage of it. But what is the disadvantage of it is, as we have agreed yesterday, the participation is a problem. So how do we ensure participation of the learners? So in this blended teaching method. So one simple technique is we can go for the names of the students, names of the participants. So I think there are 126 participants are here. So now if I wanted to just would like to ensure that, for example, here, Anita Jaiswal, for example, Anita Jaiswal. So I would like to just, take Anita Jaiswal name and involve Anita Jaiswal in the discussion, either by putting a question, or maybe instead of putting a question and I'm not necessarily looking for an answer, but just I am trying to say a kind of a statement. Now, what I would like to say, Anita, are you okay with this statement? What do you say about it? So instead of asking by name and asking a question, calling by somebody by name and asking a question, sometimes the participant is not very comfortable with the answer. So they may be little embarrassed in front of everybody. So this is the same problem with your regular class also. Not necessarily in online classes. In offline classes also, don't pinpoint one particular student and give the response. So sometimes they may give and most of the time they may not give, then that is a big embarrassment for them. So whatever the ground rules we follow in offline teaching, the same ground rules we can follow in online teaching as well. Or maybe you can say Anuradha Vempati. So don't ask whether Anuradha Vempati is there or not. But when you say Anuradha Vempati, then she may respond in the chat box if I make a statement. If I make a statement, or Bhanu Prakash. So if I say, Mr. Bhanu Prakash, what do you say about your experience? So that is what I would like to bring in instead of asking a kind of a question. So for example, what are the challenges of online teaching? So that is one kind of a question. Instead of that, I can reframe the question and rephrase the question and say that, what is your experience in online teaching or online learning? So you have been attending several workshops and learning something online. You have been also teaching some sessions online. So what is your experience? How do you find this online teaching different from offline teaching? Or what is your experience as a student when you are attending online classes? What is your experience as a teacher when you are delivering online content? So if I say this kind of sharing experiences would be always better than a pinpoint specific kind of a question and answer kind of a thing. So that is where we would like to involve. So that is engaging the learner in a proactive way. So Anuradha said, yes, sir. And Anita Jaiswal said, yes, sir. So it indicates that, they are in front of the system. They are listening to us. And sometimes also you can make a kind of a statement and ask them to respond. So do you agree? You say yes. Or you're not agreeing, you say no. So let us count how many said yes, how many said no. This is another kind of a technique. So sometimes, you may make some kind of a mistake while saying something, just, you say something you make a mistake. So once you make a mistake, so whether they are correcting or not, sometimes, accidentally we make mistakes, but here I am suggesting intentionally you make a wrong statement contradicting to whatever you said earlier. So whether students are saying, sir, it is not a right statement. No, sir. If they say that, we can ensure their participation. So these are all techniques which we are going to get through experience. So deliberately you can make some kind of a wrong statement for the sake of checking their attention. When we are collecting the data from the participants in survey method, so sometimes, to avoid the bias in the responses, we try to put some kind of a filler questions. These filler questions we did not take into consideration for analysis, but we try to put those questions. So when we try to make such kind of a statements in between and see that, whether they are participating into that or not. Or you can ask, participants can raise their hand if they need to clarify something. So that means, you are encouraging the participants. That is how you are engaging the students. So for which, and sometimes, we insist the students to open their cameras. But sometimes it is becoming a little sensitive to force somebody to open their camera. But especially in a classroom situation, we can ask for it. May not be in a training mode. Or maybe in the instruction itself, you may have to tell that, everybody should be able to open their cameras in the class. But unfortunately, we have a bandwidth issue, whether this is a real bandwidth or not. But students sometimes will take the advantage of, no, sir, my network connectivity is so bad, so I cannot open my video. So this is what, most of the students are going to say. So, or otherwise, we have a Google attendance. When you are conducting classes through Google Meet, we have a Google attendance. And we would like to see at what point in time the students have logged in and at what point in time they left. Or even this attendance also, you did not take only once in the beginning. You can also take at different intervals. For every 15-20 minutes, that automatically system is going to capture. So how many students are actively sitting in front of the system. So this kind of techniques we need to adopt and ensure that, students are in front of the system. Then the blended learning is highly context dependent and focuses on the integration of digital tools, techniques, and materials with the brick and mortar or physical classroom. See, the biggest challenge of blended kind of a learning is it is highly context dependent and it focuses on the integration of digital tools, techniques, and materials. So most of the time, we teachers are habituated for brick and mortar classrooms or physical classrooms. We have been engaging ourselves in the face-to-face conversations, and we have been also teaching on the board, and the students use it to take down the notes. And we are not very good at making some content well in advance, which is to be uploaded in the kind of a web. This is one kind of a challenge. The second kind of a challenge is even the sharing PowerPoints beforehand. And one more important thing is when you are teaching online, so we should be extra cautious about making some statements. The reason is your lectures are being recorded. In a typical classroom situation. Sometimes, people may record it unofficially, but that is also not legal, and they have to take your permission to record the lecture. But otherwise, even if you make some mistakes, there will not be any record. But whereas in this online teaching, your talk is being recorded. So that's where, one should be extra cautious. And another important issue is, we need to know how to use this technology. This is what is very, very important. So maybe 2 years ago, most of us are not aware about Zoom or WebEx or Google Meet. Though all of us have been using Google, but we were not very comfortable with the Google kind of a Meet. Or maybe we were not comfortable with the Google Sheet or Google Forms. But now today we are using those Google Forms for assessment and evaluation. So that is where, we, though you are not a technology savvy person, but with somebody's help, now we are able to operate technology. So this education by allowing learners to view delivered lectures, access course content, ask questions, and even finish assignments online. The advantage of this online assessment is in a Google form, you can give the questions and answers also you can give well in advance. So once the students just log in and submit their responses, automatically Google is going to give you the scores. So you need not manually do that. There is also a technique in this Google Forms for assessment. So you can give a different kind of a question paper to different students. I think what we need to do is we need to have more MCQs. So once you have more MCQs, so then you can set up a kind of a scheme where each student is going to get a different question paper. Sometimes same questions in jumbled order, or sometimes different questions for different students. And if everything is MCQ, immediately you should be able to get the scores and your evaluation becomes very, very simple. So assignments online, ask questions online, and access course content. All the course content, your videos and your e-content and all your videos are available online so that the students can access them at any time they want. So many findings on blended learning show an increase in learners' ability to learn collaboratively, think creatively, study independently, and tailor their own learning experiences to meet their individual needs. But right now, one can argue with me, sir, our experience of online teaching is not that great. I think including me, I also agree with you. But whatever we had for the past 2 years is only online teaching, online learning. Yes, online learning has got some disadvantages, but now we are speaking about the blended learning. Many findings on blended learning show an increase in learners' ability to learn collaboratively, think creatively, study independently, and tailor their own learning experiences to meet their individual needs. So what are we trying to do in this blended learning part? We are empowering the students to learn on their own. This is what is very, very important. And also now and then, we should be also checking this chat box. This is also very, very important. The chat box, you keep on checking. So are there any comments? I think, made by the participants. Okay. Then features of blended learning, increase the student engagement in learning. So yesterday we were discussing about how these students can be engaged. But when we go for blended learning, I'm again cautioning you, this is not just online. In a blended learning, you can engage the student in multiple ways. So there is a physical engagement or maybe online engagement. So if it is an online class, online engagement, and if it is a brick and mortar classroom, physically you can engage the students. Enhance the teacher and student interaction. So nowadays, the students, because of this pandemic, students are interacting with the teacher through mail. I don't think 2 years ago, the students were interacting to the teacher with the mail. Hardly they used to submit their assignments, but now they are making they're sending mails to the teacher to clarify their response, their kind of doubts. The second important issue is even whenever you are doing this kind of online classes, we are also creating some WhatsApp group for the class. So in the WhatsApp group, there would be a lot of comments by the students and a lot of clarifications. And sometimes as a teacher, you can give, or even before you give the response, some of the group members are going to respond and there would be a lot of debates and discussions. So as a teacher, what we can do, so we would like to share their kind of responses, and you try to correct them if they are not doing well. But still, one of our participants are saying that the passive state students are remained as passive students. Yes, I do agree. The passive students are remaining passive students even in offline classes. Even in offline classes, they are passive. But online classes, even we have a passive students, but at least, you have an evidence that somebody has been passive over a period of time with the statistics, whatever you have. Sometimes, even lectures also can be streamed to YouTube. So from that YouTube video of 1 hour or 1.5 hour video, whatever you upload, so people can get the statistics. At what point in time people are getting in, at what point in time they're coming out of it. How many students have watched the whole video 100%, 50%, 75%, and how many people are viewing it again and again. Usually at what time they are viewing. I think, such kind of statistics you can get from YouTube. So you have a lot of analytics kind of information, we can make the analysis. So still, as somebody said, the passive students are remaining as a passive students, but how do we address them? So if you identify there are passive students which are online, so you can take a special care about those students when you are teaching offline. This is one kind of a strategy. So in the online, you find somebody is very passive, so you can engage them more in online and in offline class, because it is a blended kind of a classroom situation. So in a physical classroom situation, you can handle them carefully. This is one approach. The second approach is, who are some passive learners you find. So for those passive learners, you can probably have an interactive session with them. So no active learners, only passive learners in the group. So you call all the passive learners. You don't call them as a passive learners. So just like that, you can call them and you can ask them to come for a chat, and informally you can start chatting with them. You are not saying that, why are you passive? But you try to understand, you say, instead of asking somebody, why are you passive? So don't even label the students as active and passive. It is only for our own consumption we are going to segregate them. But when you are trying to interact with them, try to know what are the reasons for their slow learning. Don't even mention them as a slow learning. So you try to say that, the minimum participation in the online discussions, So that is one aspect we need to do. And if there is some kind of cause, so definitely you would like to address them. The next important thing is, you can make them into teams. You can make them into groups. So when we discuss about blended learning, even this project-based learning is also another important aspect of this blended learning. So you can make the students into various groups, and in every group you try to see that, some passive students also distributed across, so that, they can also learn from their peers while they are working in a group. So that is another important issue. So give them a project or some experiential sharing. So, some 10 students of the class, 10 students are not participating in your class, for example. So what you do is, don't ask these 10 students to respond, but if you ask some 2 active students to make presentation, then in the sequence you can keep the 3rd inactive student or passive student to make the presentation. So you try to schedule your presentations in such a way that don't keep all active student presentations in the beginning itself. So that what happens is that is going to become a benchmark, and these passive learners may not be confident that we may not reach that benchmark and they would be withdrawing. So what we can do is we can make a blend. Even for presentations also, you can make 2 students as a team presentation. Instead of a single presentation, make a team presentation. Within the team presentation, there is one active student, one passive student. But also you should say that the presentation should be made by both of them. Not that only one person would be presenting and another person would be just simply standing. And this is also one possibility. Most of the time, you always ask the students to give, when you ask the question and you expect the students to respond. But now what you can suggest, I request all the students to ask questions. Very interesting question and intelligent question I am going to reward. So that means, we are trying to ask the students to prepare the questions. See, most of the time, in our assignment, what we are trying to do, we give the questions and we expect them to write answers. But why can't we ask them to make questions as assignment? Let them make assignment, one assignment as a questions. Let them make MCQ questions. Let them make MCQ questions as many as possible. But try to tell them that, they should not be copying from a source. If at all they are copying from a source, let them also mention a source. But you should also put a restriction that from other sources, whatever questions you are taking, they should not exceed 25% of your whole questions. And whoever are going to make more questions, whoever are going to make intelligent questions, tricky questions, or sometimes the multiple answer questions, not necessarily a single answer, there could be multiple answer, or match the following questions. So whatever the strategy is, we are going to ask them to give passage. When you give the passage, you expect them to ask questions in the passage in the examinations. In the similar way here also. So let us discuss for half an hour and next 5 minutes for question and answers. And people have to ask questions. So what we are trying to see is we are encouraging the students to ask more questions, and the enhancement of interaction and responsibility for learning. So today, if you look at most of the students, why they are studying, this is a very important question we need to ask, especially in undergraduate colleges. What is the motivation for them to study? So if you just make some survey among your own class, among your own classes or wherever you are teaching, you try to ask them, why are you studying? Why are you studying? What is the purpose of your education? What is your long-term goal? What is your short-term goal? What is your motivation to come to college? What is your motivation to come to college? So whether the student is pursuing education for his own sake or her own sake, or for the sake of parents, for the sake of brother, for the sake of sister, for the sake of peer pressure, for the sake of pressure from society, relatives, whatever. So you try to ask them. Most of them are having different kinds of reasons. But in blended learning, what happens, the students are responsible for learning. So what we are trying to say finally, we are now trying to convert our classrooms from teacher-centric to student-centric, teacher-centric to learner-centric. So now we are discussing everything from learner's perspective. All these years, we have been discussing from teacher's perspective. As teacher, we have been seeing our comfort. I think, all of you are teachers, lecturers and professors, assistant professors working in various universities and colleges. So when you go for the timetable, each one of us would like to look at our own comfort in making the timetable. We are not looking at the comfort of the learner. Sometimes what happens, may not be in degree colleges, in universities, what happens, professors will keep 3 continuous hours of their workload in one go. They wanted to finish their 3 hours of workload within one day because they wanted to finish their entire workload in 2 days. So that is your comfort you are looking at. But is it comfortable to the learner? As all of us know, the research also is saying that, the retention time and attentive time, the class and attention and retention timings, they are gradually and drastically reducing. They are drastically and they are reducing. When they are reducing, so engaging the student continuously for 3 hours with a monotonous lecture, is it going to be effective? So that is where now let us redesign our classroom schedules from the point of view of the learner. That means, what is comfortable to the learner, accordingly we may have to do. So I suggest even the session should be 45 minutes. Session should be 45 minutes and 15 minutes should be for interaction. And in a given timetable from morning 10 to 5, don't fill all the sessions with only lectures. So you try to keep some 1 or 2 hours in between for them to interact with each other. And also you try to create some kind of a co-learning spaces in the institution. So there, when I visited 2 foreign universities, one is Nanyang Technological University and Monash University. So what I found is, more than classrooms, they are having a lot of co-learning places for the students. Maybe in the corridors, maybe in the foyer, maybe even sometimes the students are sitting on some kind of a on steps, and at several places, they have some coffee kind of a outlets or tea outlets. So what they thought is the students are able to learn more outside the classroom than within the classroom. So this is the kind of a idea people have been working on it. But if you look at our own system, from school level to intermediate corporate colleges to degree colleges to university, we are loading our classes from morning to evening. So even in the US today, maybe a MS program, they have 9 credits per semester. 9 credits, that means 3 credits per subject. Only 3 subjects they have. Only 3 weeks, in a week, 3 days. 3 days or 2.5 days, they have the coursework. The remaining thing is only their own learning. So we need to also think in that way, especially when we are moving towards blended learning. So you need to create such kind of a space for the learner to prepare content on their own, or maybe discussion in the groups, or let there be group activities. So let us minimize this lecturing business. So let us bring in more activities. Let us bring in more games. Let us bring in more simulations. Let us bring in more role plays. Let us bring in more internships. Let us bring in more projects. Let us bring in more presentations. Let us bring in more quiz kind of a competitions. There be some kind of a competition. There be some kind of a fun. There be some kind of entertainment. So there may be a team teaching. There will be collaborative projects. Or sometimes you teach 50% of the content, remaining 25% content your colleague will teach. Remaining 25% you invite people from industry or society or alumni. I think you try to make some kind of a experiment. I think that kind of a proportions, this is the kind of a major mindset issue, not necessarily mindset of the student, mindset of the policy makers, mindset of the vice chancellors, mindset of the heads and deans and board of studies chairman. I think there should be a revolutionary change. Otherwise, we may not be able to. So at this context, I use it to recall a statement made by Sam Pitroda. What he said is, we are trying to solve 21st century problems with the 19th century mindset and the 20th century tools. So that's what he made a wonderful statement about our mindset. So especially teachers' mindset. Sam Pitroda mentioned this statement. We are trying to address 21st century issues and 21st century problems with the 19th century mindset and the 20th century tools. So I think this statement is mostly applicable to all of us, because we would like to concentrate more on the known techniques rather than innovative techniques. And time management and flexibility. Here we are trying to manage the time, and the students also will be able to know how to manage the time, and also we are providing the flexibility. So earlier what happened is, we used to have one single menu. So now today we are providing multiple menus. So it is like, buffet system. We are moving towards a buffet system. I think not necessarily choice-based credit system. Even in terms of teaching learning practices also, there are varieties of models and the students can choose anything. Then improved student learning outcomes. The improved student learning outcomes, that the program outcomes, course learning outcomes, improved student learning outcomes, then enhanced institutional reputation. With the blended learning, the institutional reputation is enhanced. More flexible teaching and learning environment. More flexible and teaching and learning environment. So right now, if you go for 100% physical classes, sometimes, with a choice-based credit system, you may not be able to accommodate your timetable. So you may have to work out your timetable from 10 to 5, But if you wanted to give more choice to the students, you may have to work from morning 8 to night 10 o'clock. Unless you work for such a long time, you may not be able to accommodate the requirements of all the students. But once you go for this blended learning, you can decide some of the courses can be totally online, some of the courses can be totally offline, some of the courses can be combination of online and offline. So that you need not really stretch from morning 8 to night 10 o'clock. You can as well do your things within 10 to 5, but you have to decide which courses can go online, which courses can go offline, which courses can go hybrid mode. So accordingly, you can have strategies. And which some percentage of courses also they can take from NPTEL or Swayam. So that is also going to save. Or if you have a tie-up with some reputed institution, so that videos are available for you to share with the students. More flexible teaching and learning environment, more amenable for self and continuous learning, better opportunities for experiential learning. So this online blended learning is going to give more opportunities for experiential learning. So influence of blended learning environment on learner. So this is the next important question, because we have a lot of apprehensions. So how this blended learning is going to work? So it is going to be a new philosophy. It's going to be a new concept. Whether it is suitable for our system. These are the kinds of apprehensions we have. Yeah, as you know, even after 70 years of our offline teaching, we have not stabilized. Even today, we have a lot of issues with offline teaching. So you cannot expect the benefits of blended learning within a day, within a month. So it will take its own time, but definitely with the use of technology, we should be able to achieve our objectives at the earliest. So when we know something is good, let us switch over. That's a very simple thing. So increase student interest. When technology is integrated into lessons, learners are more likely to be focused on and are excited about the subjects they are studying. See, for example, when we are doing this kind of a PowerPoint presentation versus if I use Blackboard, which is more exciting. If the Blackboard presentation is exciting or PowerPoint is exciting. Within PowerPoint, I bring animations. Whether animations are going to excite you or simple PowerPoint black and white is going to excite you. So definitely, when you add some animations, when you add some graphics, when you add some videos, so they are going to be much more useful. Say, for example, in my operations research subject, I am supposed to discuss about the queuing system. So the queuing system, I try to discuss about the queuing system by explaining, I try to ask them to recall their queuing experience. But I would like to play a 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 1 minute to 2 minute video that there's a long queue at railway reservation counter. Unfortunately, nowadays, we are not finding such kind of long queues because of IRCTC. Everybody is able to book online. Most of us are able to book online. Or maybe a passport office. Passport office, in spite of the introduction of technology, even, at passport office, you find a lot of queues. Or maybe petrol stations, you find a lot of queues. Or at cinema theater, you find a lot of queues. And cinema theater also, this Book My Show and other kind of online apps have reduced the length of the queue. Fine, but still there are some issues about the queuing system. So I will show that queue a video and how it happens. And also in the queuing system, we have some kind of properties. Number one, by looking at the long queue, some people wanted to join the queue, but they leave the queue. The second kind of a property is people spend some time in the queue and they lose the patience and they leave the queue. That is the second one. The third one is they move from one queue to other queue. They're thinking that, this happens most of the time. We also experience at toll gates. When you are traveling on highways, so we move from one line to other line. And finally, you realize that your old one is much more faster than the existing one. So all these kinds of things, if I make some 5 minutes or 4 minutes or 2 minutes video, I present that video, that is going to have very good impact on the student mindset rather than asking the student to imagine on their own. So definitely they should imagine, but at least to imagine, we are going to give them some kind of, videos. So when the technology is integrated, for example, a student writes the exam in a normal circumstances, and when are we going to give them their scores? After 1 week, after 10 days, after 1 month, sometimes after 2 months. In some cases, I think the student has to see his internal marks in the final memo, because there are some teachers, they never evaluate. Though we call it as a continuous assessment, but hardly those scores are not revealed. People will look at only the memos and then only they come to know about it. But whereas in this kind of blended learning, when we are conducting online quiz, so once you complete the examination, within no time you are going to get your score. That gives you an excitement. And also sometimes there is a provision for retest. And again, that fellow take another test. Look at the score. When the score is increasing, the student is motivated. Like that, you can provide multiple tests. The student keep on testing on their own at what pace they are trying to address them and what would be the percentage of right answers or wrong answers. So I take the test now. I got only 10 out of 20. I again study for 2 hours. Then again, I take another exam. So I got 15 out of 20. So immediately it gives me a confidence that I was able to improve 5 marks. So this is the kind of advantage we have, for which there is no teacher. There is no examination paper to be prepared then and there. So the student just download a paper and fill it, not even downloading, just open and respond and look at the scores. So that is going to give the motivation. Or sometimes the videos are available 24/7. That gives us motivation. Keep students focused for longer. So that is, the use of computers to look up information and data combined with access to resources, engagement and interaction keeps students sit for longer period, thus developing learning through exploration and research. So today most of us are using mobile. So I think today, if you look at our own time, how you are managing your time, either you are spending most of your time in desktop or laptop or maybe mobile. So that means, there is some attraction in the mobile. So now people are mostly they're spending their time in social media. So why can't you link social media to their learning? So why can't we use social media platform for teaching and learning? So then as a consequence, what is happening? The information and data combined with access to resources, engagement and interaction keeps students sit for longer period, thus developing learning through exploration and research. For example, blended learning, I wanted to know. So right now I am teaching for you, but as a teacher, if you wanted to learn what is blended learning, what do? You go to Google first. You say blended learning. You find several kinds of topics. So just you glance. After some time, you realize, no, this is very too much to read. So many pages. Let me go to PowerPoint presentation on blended learning. So once you go to Google, say type blended learning. So then you see several videos. After some time, you realize, no, it is also not very attractive. Let me go to some YouTube videos. So you start with one video, and finally, by the time you just leave the system, you must have visited some 20. So this entire process took about 3 to 4 hours of your time, because your motivation to know what is blended learning. Because it is, you are motivated to know, you are motivated to learn. So obviously, you don't mind sitting for several hours. But when you come to the class and your teacher says, as a teacher, if you say to your students that, I am going to teach 4 hours talk, everybody says no. What is the difference? So there, they have their own flexibility to watch whatever they want. Here, they do not have any flexibility. Whatever you teach, they should learn. But why can't we, even it is offline class, why can't we customize our class where students also can interfere continuously and interact with you, and continuously they drive the class to the next level? So why can't we use that kind of a technique? So access to resources, engagement and interaction keeps students sit for longer period, thus developing learning through exploration and research. Okay. The provides student autonomy. The use of e-learning materials increases a student's ability to set appropriate learning goals and take charge of his or her own learning, which develops an ability that will be translatable across all the subjects. So now in one subject, if I'm able to sit for a longer time, in one subject, why not in other subject? So that is one. The second thing is, the e-learning material increases the student's ability to set appropriate learning goals. So sometimes, when you are given a e-learning content, so you keep your own goals and you try to say, yeah, within 1 week, I would like to complete the whole content. And once the student is going to fix the target and they try to achieve it. And there should be also a kind of a motivation for the students. Then instill a disposition of self-advocacy. Students become self-driven and responsible, tracking their individual achievements, which helps develop the ability to find the resources and get needed help to reach their goals. Say, for example, with this kind of a blended teaching, what happens is your 2 years of assessment, continuous assessments are available at one place. Or 2 years of content is available at one place. Or 2 years of content is e-learning material is available at one place. So that is going to be helpful for them. I think they wanted to preserve it, they can preserve it. So the students become a self-driven. That is what is very important, and responsible. So this is the major problem in our day-to-day teaching is we discuss more about what. But what we need to do now, we need to discuss why and how. Why and how. Or you discuss about what and you ask your students to get back and answer why and how. That is how when they are going for that why and how business, they are going to get expertise. They are going to become independent learners. They are motivated to learn the latest concepts. They try to integrate their existing learning with the newer issues. And in the process, they get excited. So once they get excited, so they would be self-motivated. So this is where, even some issues of, educational psychology will come into picture. The extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. So there will be a more of an intrinsic motivation when students are going to use this kind of a blended learning, the self-driven and responsible, tracking their individual achievements, and which helps develop the ability to find the resources and get needed help to reach their goals. Prepare students for the future by offering a multitude of real-world skills like research skills, self-learning skills, self-engagement skills, better decision-making skills, offers a larger sense of responsibility, computer literacy, self-driving ability that directly translate into life skills. See, this is also an indirect benefit is, people are also able to develop life skills. See, what is happening in our regular day-to-day teaching. So we are doing a lot of spoon feeding. We are doing a lot of spoon feeding. So the students are always looking at the teacher. Even today, so when I say there is an examination after 3 days, the students are going to ask me, sir, what are the important questions? Number 1. Number 2, sir, can you share your PowerPoints? Number 3, can you share your teaching notes? Number 4, sir, we are unable to read all these textbooks. Can you provide the notes? Can you provide the notes? So this is how even at post-graduation level, even at PhD level, students are looking at the teacher. But if I say that, I am not going to provide you PowerPoint, I am not going to provide you content, I am not going to provide you anything. Just whatever interactions we had, those videos are there. Go through those videos and try to prepare. Then what happens now? The onus of preparation will be on their shoulders, and definitely they try to improve. And whether you agree or not, this due to pandemic, the computer literacy of the students and teachers, I think, has increased enormously. This is one positive side of it. And also the larger sense of responsibility, better decision making, self-engagement, self-learning, and research skills. The research skills also, I think, people started researching. People started researching, and they have been using the technology extensively for their research. But research means may not be the research leading to PhD. I'm saying about research about the topic. The role of teacher in blended learning environment. The role of teacher in blended learning environment. This is very, very important. So far, we have been discussing about how do we engage them, how do we teach them, and how do we engage them. But here, what is the role of teacher in blended learning? So now I will just, leave it for the respondents to respond. The respondents to respond. Okay, the respondents to respond. Now just you tell me what is the role of teacher in blended learning. Now I think each one of you can start chatting. Then we look at one after other. So after having heard me a lot yesterday and today, so just tell me, because I have been continuously speaking, so now just I wanted to ask you, you say, what is the role of teacher? Teacher is a facilitator, okay? Facilitator, okay? Facilitator, yes. What else? Crucial role, okay? Motivator, okay? Student engaging the students. Yeah, offline and online barriers, motivation, guidance, directing, okay? Coordinating, motivation, facilitator, participation of students, okay? Involving the students, medium of interface between student and learning, okay? Guidance, okay? Guidance, okay, then improve different learning styles. Teacher will lead for discussion, not involve students and involve students. Coordinate, mentoring, dynamic and flexible, good. One-to-one interaction. So we need to make sure that we need to reach their level to teach, okay? Innovative learning. Make students participate in discussion. Empowering. Flexible mentor. Inspirer, okay? Creating new path. Monitors and train students to learn effectively. Inculcate interest. Participant in learning process. Helping students. Sharing of experiences. Okay. Need to teach the concept. Make them to enjoy learning. Equipped with techniques. Make everyone to get involved. Flexible. Okay, good. Lot of ideas, lot of experiences. Exploring new styles of learning. Okay. Exploring new styles of learning. Technology-based learning. Observer. Chances of learning rather than teaching. Motivates the students. Okay. Teacher is a provider of knowledge. So my question is very simple. In the entire blended learning process or blended learning environment, what is the role of the teacher? So all of you are saying that teacher is supposed to be a facilitator, director, controller, coordinator, motivator, molder, guide, mentor. What else? Teacher is the provider of knowledge. Okay. Properly channelizes their talents and skills. Okay. Okay. So let us see. Yeah. Teacher's role shifts from knowledge provider to guide, coach, and mentor. That is what I think most of you said. So this is another kind of a technique. So I know what is there on the slide, but just before moving to the slide, I ask the respondents to respond, students to respond. When they give these responses, when we move to the next slide, immediately same points are there. So they would be very happy. they would be very happy that whatever they said, it is visible. Guide, coach, mentor. Number 2, teachers have an even more profound influence on affect students' education as blended learning now become more student-driven, teacher-directed, bottom-up, and customized with the differentiation as a main feature. So what is that we are saying now? Once earlier approach was top-down approach. Top-down approach. Now we are speaking about bottom-up approach. Number 1. And also it's customized. Now you tell me how this blended learning is a customized one. How this blended learning is a customized one. How customization is possible in blended learning. See, what happens is, in our offline class, most of the time what happens? We try to go to the class with a double Excel. And we want everybody to fit into that. That's it. Because you have only double Excel. You have been using the double Excel from your childhood, and then only you know the double Excel, and you go to the double Excel. So then you realize that most of the students are unable to fit into that. Tomorrow you go for Excel. But here what is happening now? You are a tailor. You are taking the measurements and you are stitching customized dress for every student. That is a major difference. You are a tailor. Instead of giving them a ready-made dress of XL or double XL, so you take one XL shirt and you ask everybody to wear it. One size is not going to fit for all. So what are we trying to do now? We are a tailor. You take the measurements. And with those measurements, you are going to stitch with the dress which suits them. So that is possible with the blended learning, because manually it is not possible, but it is possible with the help of technology. This is what I wanted to say. So when we go for some NAC accreditation process, most of the colleges say we identify slow learners. But how do you identify somebody as a slow learner? How do we identify somebody as a slow learner? This is a question we ask, but most of them may not be able to respond properly. But here with the help of technology, with the help of this online assessment tools, over a period of time, once we get the information of their performance, you should be able to differentiate slow learners and fast learners. Accordingly, you can customize your delivery mechanism. So fine. Okay. So the teachers have an even more profound influence, and teachers have enhanced role with the technology instruction. Yes. So teachers will have enhanced role because, the technology also they should know how to use it. And sometimes, they misuse, they abuse, but you should be also trying to guide them. How do they go about? Sometimes what happens, you give a case study. For that case study, there are some kind of ready-made solutions available in the net. And people immediately start copying them. People start presenting those solutions. But as an instructor, you should be able to say that, no, it is not your output. This is from so-and-so source. It is given by so-and-so person and so-and-so university professor in so-and-so YouTube video. Don't play with me. So if you say that on 2-3 occasions, the students are not going to play with you. They start doing things on their own. And also you should be doing some kind of a plagiarism check of the assignment submitted by them. And you keep on saying that, any plagiarism percentage more than 10, I am not going to accept your assignment. Then people start improving. Or you are also putting a strong guidelines about academic dishonesty, academic ethics, and plagiarism, awareness about plagiarism and anti-plagiarism. So this is going to make the students more and more responsible. So only teachers can give teacher-led instruction which personalizes the learning experience and adds the human elements of encouragement, compassion, and caring guidance. So I was expecting this response from you that, at least one of you would be saying about, speaking about empathy. I think, one can be more empathetic. With online teaching also, one can be more empathetic towards students, and synchronous learning is possible. That except rubrics and the portfolio, what are the different assessment tools? Yeah, that we will discuss. So only teachers can give teachers-led instruction which personalizes the learning experience and adds the human elements of encouragement, compassion, and caring guidance. Teachers are provided with a fuller, more accurate picture of how each student is doing. That is what I have been telling, which give teachers insights into students' personal struggles and needs, insights which empower teachers to comfort and coach students through challenges that often serve as obstacles to learning. Yeah. In the very recent times, regarding COVID treatment, what kind of a COVID treatment all our governments have prescribed, including Telangana government, they have made a pamphlet, said you take antibiotic, you take vitamin C, vitamin D, multivitamin, zinc. If there is a fever, use Dolo, and if you have a running nose, use Citrizine. So this is how they have given a kind of a pamphlet. But do you think that kind of a standard medication fits for everybody? No. But instead of using that, if you go to a doctor, if 10 people go to 10 doctors or same doctor, the doctor is not going to give the same prescription for everybody. He or she changes the prescription from person to person. So this is possible. It is possible when we are trying to go for customization. My whole idea is in offline teaching, there is not scope for customization. It is more of a standardization. But in technology, blended learning, we have a possibility for customization, that to be a mass customization. That is what I have been telling you. So then teachers have the opportunity to deepen and strengthen student-teacher relationships. So with the advent of technology, I can also maintain a WhatsApp communication with my own student. Or even in this chat also, while we are discussing, I can also send a personal chat to a particular student. So it is not visible to everybody, but only a two particular student I can give the chat. So that means now and then, but in a regular class, what happens if a student is not attentive, you are openly calling that boy and exposing that boy that he is not very attentive. But here in this case, what happens? I can send a personal message to the student. He or she is not attentive in the class. So in summary, blended learning combines the best aspects of online learning with the best aspects of direct instruction. This is what is my tagline from yesterday. And I keep on repeating, and even from tomorrow onwards, all the resource persons are going to speak about it. So horizontal and vertical integration of learning technology and modes of delivery. There are three modes of delivery: face-to-face, traditional, flexible, and distance learning. So technology can be used to enrich traditional teaching, enhance flexible form of delivery, and increase social presence and level of engagement in distance studies. So technology can be used to enrich traditional teaching, enhance flexible form of delivery, and increase social presence and level of engagement in distance studies. If you recall our last 2 years experience, what did we do? Our regular classroom lecture, whatever we used to do, the same lecture we have delivered in the online platform. Do you agree? Do you agree this is what we have done? The same content, whatever we used to deliver in offline class, the same content we delivered in online mode. So people are saying no. People are saying no. But when I look at randomly some videos, because as part of this NAC inspection, when we visited some colleges, we asked them to show some sample videos. But more or less, there is no difference from online teaching, the way they used it to teach offline, and they have been teaching online. So we use it to make use of technology. That is what I'm saying. Using the technology in the given classroom, you have been running the PowerPoint and delivering the lecture. I'm not saying everybody. Majority of the videos, if you look at, there are some kind of online needs activity based to keep the attention span of students. This is the reality. But in real life situation, what happened? There are some videos I have seen people start reading the textbooks, reading the PowerPoint, not without any explanation. And sometimes they are not even ensuring the students are present in the class. They were not asking any questions. So why I am bringing this experience is, because we have randomly seen some videos and we thought, these people are simply replicating whatever they are doing in offline teaching. So that is where this technology can be used to enrich traditional teaching, enhance flexible form of delivery, and increase social presence at the level of engagement in distance studies. Thus, blended learning can operate on both a horizontal and vertical level. On a horizontal level, it refers to using technology to blend different modes of delivery to create more flexible learning opportunities. On the vertical level, it refers to integrating a range of teaching methods and technologies within a single delivery mode to enhance learning outcomes. So here you can see the face-to-face and distance and the flexible and blended learning, the learning technology. So the horizontal level refers to using technology to blend different modes of delivery. That is horizontal level. The vertical level is integrating a range of teaching methods and technologies within a single delivery mode to enhance learning outcomes. In a nutshell, what we are trying to do, whatever methods we have, we are going to blend. It need not be even online, offline, even any kind of a method we have, you can bring in. And now you are looking at horizontal level and also vertical level. That vertical level, you can see various teaching methods. See, according to Garrison and Vaughan, key assumptions are thoughtfully integrating face-to-face and online learning, fundamentally rethinking the course design to optimize the student engagement, restructuring and replacing traditional class contact hours with individual personalized online learning and collaborative learning. Thus, blended learning emerges from an understanding of the relative strengths of different teaching approaches. Okay. So fundamentally rethinking the course design to optimize student engagement. So my question is, 2 years ago, you had offline teaching. Last 2 years, you had online teaching. Have you really redesigned your course when you are moving from offline to online? So have you redesigned the syllabus, or had we taught the same syllabus? When we have moved to online teaching, had we redesigned our syllabus? I don't think. It needs to be revised, but our 2 years of experience is no. The same syllabus we have been teaching, the same content, same methodology. But what we are trying to say, the rethinking the course design, maybe the content may be same, but we need to redesign to optimize student engagement. The second one is integrating face-to-face and online learning, the restructuring and replacing traditional class contact hours with individual personalized online learning and collaborative learning. So that means your class, see, for example, you look at Coursera videos. What is the duration of that Coursera video? Any one of you can respond. Most of the videos of Coursera, when you look at the lecture, or even if not Coursera, look at edX. Let's look at Udemy. What would be the average duration of the video? Average duration of the video? 12 minutes. 35 minutes. 35 minutes is very exception. 5 minutes, right? 7 minutes. 14 minutes. 10 minutes. 5 minutes. It all depends on the content. But what are we doing now in our online lectures? We are keeping our 1 hour video, 2 hours video and available to the students. And if you look at the views, lot of views, I think we will not get, many views, because hardly 5 views, 6 views or 10 views. Unfortunately, we are not, simply we are uploading those videos, and we are not even bothered to see, because we do not have such kind of statistics, but YouTube, I think, it is going to give you analytics. So how many downloads, how much time people have spent this information. But today, if you make some 3 hours video on a particular topic, say blended learning, 3 hours video I'll make and I will put in the website. How many people are going to look into that? Very few. But if I make this blended teaching or learning into some 10 components, and each component, if I'll make the 10 minutes video, then there would be more response. The same is the case with our blended learning. So instead of making long videos of 2, 3, 4 hours videos and trying to put them in the web, so better you make short videos, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes. So we try to take a lot of activities and conduct such kind of a video, and so that the students also develop interest and they look at one video. If it is exciting, they go to second video, then exciting third video. But if you combine all the 3 videos, put at one place, I don't think people will watch it. So in my Swayam platform, I have offered 2 courses in Swayam platform. One is research methodology for social sciences. Second one is data analysis for social sciences. Though there, what we have done is the Swayam itself has given a restriction that it is half an hour video, 30 minutes video. The video should not be more than 30 minutes. So we try to concentrate content and everything to be packed in 30 minutes video, so that you would make more and more effective kind of a presentation. That means you need to be condensing the content, crisp, very effective, very interesting, and some kind of a aha feeling at the end of the video. That is where, if you look at some YouTube videos, some videos are having lakhs and millions of views, and some videos are having hundreds of views. The reason is that particular video is not engaging much. So here, as a teacher, we should know, how do I engage my students with the proper video content? Catching the learner's attention is the crux of teaching learning process. So how do we catch the learner's attention is the biggest challenge, right? So if you look at this particular picture, this is the blended learning, online learning, small groups, collaborative, individual. So personalized online learning, individual online learning, collaborative, then teacher-led small group instruction. So small group is teacher-led small group instruction. Collaborative is people sitting together and collaborating. And individual learning, that is individual. And online learning is the personalized online learning. So now this is like kind of a cycle. So online learning, small group learning, collaborative learning, individual learning. But here we are not avoiding the teacher-led small group instruction. It could be small group, it could be large group, but definitely it is going to be a teacher-led small group instruction. So don't be under the impression that when we are speaking about blended, we are totally removing the teacher from the process. Teacher will be there, teacher should be there. Without teacher, we cannot imagine teaching learning process, definitely. So there is no substitute for the teacher. But the problem is, even there is a YouTube lecture, there is a content is available on YouTube, but people should come to your offline classes. So such is the kind of a motivation we need to create to the students. The next important question is models of blended learning. So here again, I will stop for a while. You tell me what are the various models of blended learning, whatever you know, you just type. What are the models of blended learning? Yeah, within 1 minute, there is no response means you are not much aware of those. Number one. Number two, some of you are thinking, what could be the models? Okay. And some of you may be looking for Google to give the solution. Gamification. Okay. Case studies, somebody said. Let us look at the models of blended learning. A model can be a description of a system The model can be a description of a system or situation or phenomena that accounts for its known or inferred properties and can be used for further study of its characteristics. It is only definition of model because we discuss a lot of models in operations research. So what is a model? A model can be a description of a system or situation or phenomenon that accounts for its own or inferred properties and can be used for further study of its characteristics. Blended learning covers one or more of the following three main models. The first model, blended presentation and interaction model. The first one is blended presentation and interaction model. The classroom engagement as its primary component with support from out-of-class online exercises. This is what from yesterday onwards we have been discussing. Blended presentation and interaction model. This is the classroom engagement as its primary component with support from out-of-class online exercises. The example is flipped classroom or flipped curriculum approach. Students viewing podcasts or other online resources independently, followed by a classroom-based tutorials or seminars for group learning based upon these resources. So face-to-face sessions and we have online activities. So we are now trying to look at both. So as somebody said, the flipped classroom or flipped curriculum approach. Okay, this is blended presentation and interaction model. Then the second one is blended black model. Blended black model. Sometimes it is also called a program flow model. Sequence of activities or blocks are structured to incorporate both face-to-face learning and online study, usually with the consideration for both pedagogical goals and practical constraints. It is called blended block model, sometimes called a program flow model. Sequence of activities or blocks are structured to incorporate both face-to-face. That means in the session plan itself, you are going to mention about the sequence of activities. The earlier one is, it's more like a parallel. They would be attending face-to-face, they would be also attending online. That is a parallel. But here what we are trying to do, in your structure itself, you are going to say in the session plan, I have some 40 sessions. Session 1, face-to-face. Session 2, it is like online. And you also tell the source from where they have to get that information and what are the source of that video, the source of that e-content. The third session again, face-to-face. Fourth and fifth sessions are again of online. Sixth session is again classroom. That is how you are going to plan a kind of a sequence. But by keeping in the mind the pedagogical goals and the practical constraints. Example, a course for geographically distributed learners or working professionals may have limited opportunities for classroom-based learning, and therefore begin with a block of intensive face-to-face sessions, followed by blocks of online study and collaboration through online tutorials. See, for example, I would like to offer, for example, B R Ambedkar Open University would like to offer this blended block model. So as you know, the students of B R Ambedkar University are spread across both Telugu states, or sometimes they are also from other states. So, but instead of offering everything offline, you say there is a mandatory face-to-face sessions of 1 week. You come here and 1 week we give you enough inputs. And then I say from now onwards till the end of the semester, you would be having only online content, online classes. So you attend those online classes followed by face-to-face presentations again. So you can also call them for a face-to-face presentations and sessions and presentations. So now you are asking them to come and make presentations. So initially you delivered lecture, then they have prepared on their own. Then you are asking them to come back for presentations. But in a given classroom situation, so since the students are with us, there are two models we have. One is the regular classroom situation. How do we use blended learning? And in a distance education mode or open university like B R Ambedkar Open University or Indira Gandhi National Open University, how do we look at this blended learning? So if it's a distance education model, open university model, this model works better. Or if it is a regular classroom model, I think the earlier model works better. Earlier model works better. So in our B R Ambedkar Open University, we have half classes online, other half offline. It's a blended model for MA English. Okay. For MA English students, as the Madhuri madam is saying that, they have half, but this half also continuous half online, continuous half offline versus it is on and off. For example, 1 week online and next to 2 weeks offline, or next to 2 weeks offline, 1 week online. So whether you are going to do that or you are doing intensively, continuously, you are doing face-to-face, first, second half is online. And again, third part is going to be face-to-face presentations. So what you are going to do, it also, as you said, the practical constraints. The practical constraints also need to be taken into consideration while doing this. Okay, fine. Then fully online model. The third one is fully online model, still be considered blended if it incorporates both synchronous learning, for example, online tutorials, and asynchronous activities, for example, discussion forums. So online tutorials are synchronous and synchronous activities like discussion forums. So synchronous and asynchronous activities you are going to use. It is fully online model. So what is that you are going to do? You just keep 100% recorded videos. This is one part. The second one is you have a live session and where participants are participating. This is the second kind of a model, but the participants and the students need not come to the institution. Participants or students need not come to the institution. They may be at their respective places, but you are going to provide them online content and let them have online content, video recorded, and also you are going to take online lectures. It is not face-to-face, live lectures, online tutorials you can conduct, that is what we call tutorials, or maybe the discussion forums, or maybe the video content, online videos, whatever video content we upload, we can upload that content. So fully online model still be considered blended if it incorporates both synchronous learning and asynchronous activities. So this is another model. So we have three models now. So fully online model. Yeah, just I'm going to display. Yes, madam. This is what the previous slide. Can I move? Here. So fully online and online, offline simultaneous, online, offline sequentially. These are the three models we have. Okay. So three models of blended learning, if you look at here, blended presentation interaction, activity focused face-to-face sessions blended with online resources. For example, the flipped curriculum model combines short lecture podcast, online resources with the face-to-face tutorials, seminars for interaction and presentation of book work. So that means you are providing some videos. I think now what we can do, I can suggest a technique to all of you. Last 2 years we taught online and we have those videos with us. So you take those videos and sit with some expert who can make videos, and you try to minimize that duration of 1 hour, that you can split that into various components like 10 minutes videos or 15 minutes videos or 4 or 5 based on the topic, based on the content. And you also take care of your voice, sound modulation, and also some background disturbance if you have, that can be eliminated in this editing part. And here and there, if you wanted to add some 1 or 2 videos, you can add. So whatever we have videos we have generated in the last 2 years, you can identify some of the best videos what we have, and you can now sit with an editor and split that into various smaller videos. And here and there, you can incorporate some other YouTube videos where there is no issue of copyright violations. Then you can just make them and you keep those things available to the students, and simultaneously you can have face-to-face interaction, for which it is not going to be much expensive because already videos are there. Only you need to bear the expenditure of editing and making them into smaller videos. That is one. The blended block is the combination of intensive face-to-face sessions as 1 day or half days, weekly online tutorials, seminars for activities and interaction, and online content and resources. The third one is a combination of short lecture podcast with online resources and learning, online tutorials, they are synchronous, interaction via online collaboration, discussion forums, and group work. This is asynchronous. So synchronous and asynchronous, and we need you provide in all the three things. The common thing is online content and resources. Either they are podcast, they are videos, whatever. So they are available. So blended presentation and interaction, blended blog, fully online, fully online. So whatever we have discussed there, they have mentioned here. The components of blended learning model. The blended learning model can be used as a guide in evaluating and integrating separate components that would result in instructionally sound learning situation. The components are learning environment, can be either synchronous or asynchronous, and has distinct set of advantages and disadvantages. The media refers to appropriate vehicles that simply deliver content in learning environment. The refers appropriate vehicles that simply deliver content in learning environment. The instructional component, most appropriate instructional strategies that support the learning objectives is selected while maintaining instructional quality. So learning environment, the media, instructional component. The most appropriate instructional strategies that support the learning objectives is selected while maintaining instructional quality. So learning environment, media, instructional component. Media is the vehicle. Instructional component is the strategy, the learning environment. The goal of blended learning is to leverage positive attributes of each environment, select appropriate media and instructional strategy to ensure optimum use of resources to attain the learning goal and learning objectives. And sometimes at this point in time, when I start speaking about this, some teacher colleagues say that, sir, it's very expensive. But do you think it is really expensive nowadays? Do you think it is really expensive? Because, you can record your lecture through your mobile phone. You can record your lecture through your laptop. Or even you can create a Google Meet. If you have a Google account, you can create a Google Meet link and you start teaching through that Google Meet and can be recorded. I don't think it is going to be very expensive. Not at all expensive. I can simply say it is not at all expensive. The only thing is, we need to change the mindset. We need to change the mindset because most of us are fans of offline teaching and we are addicted to offline teaching. It's good, but now I am not saying that don't go for online teaching. Even to today, the first day after 2 years, I have experienced offline teaching in my university. 15th of March today. So we have, I think, started the classes for first years offline. So when I see some 75 or 80 students in a single hall, so I was so excited. I gained a lot of energy. That's what I used to tell. When I go to a live classroom, I gain the energy from the students. When I sit in front of the system, my whole energy is drained because, within no time, lot of irritation because there is no participation from the students. That is the biggest challenge. But now, how do we make our online classes interactive is one important issue. How do I make my online classes interactive? That is one. And the second one is, how do I achieve my learning objectives? These learning objectives also differs from subject to subject. So accordingly, we may have to plan our strategies. And the media also, I think, differs from context to context. The learning environment, of course, it is there. So we need to combine these three and look into that. The next issue is the principles of blended learning. Principles of blended learning. So here you can see the use of technology creatively, clarity and consistency, socialization, student-centric approach, track progress, variety activities, feedback, shared vision. So I think these are the very important factors. These are very important factors, principles of blended learning. So the shared vision, use technology creatively, clarity and consistency, socialization, student-centric approach, and track progress, variety activities, then feedback. Okay. So now you look at the principles here. Principles are few factors to be considered when designing learning experience. The 7 blended learning principles are: number 1, cohesive vision. A united and combined vision of how the technology will enhance specific learning goals, how it will ease burden on teachers and how it can make both the teacher and students more creative learns is to be determined beforehand by teachers and the head of the school, in the sense institution, in order to work towards the same goal. Okay. The subject treatment from simple to complex. Good. Okay. So then a united and combined vision of how the technology will enhance specific learning goals. So first of all, we should have a clarity. As an institution which is getting into blended learning, we need to have some kind of a clarity that how the technology will enhance specific learning goals. Since everybody is going for blended learning, we should also go. Nothing wrong in going it, but before that, we need to have some kind of a vision. How it will ease burden on teachers, how it can make both the teacher and students more creative. See, in our university, we have some kind of software we have introduced for monitoring the projects. And also we have started some e-governance project. So what happened is, while we are doing things on e-governance, and also they are asking, that e-governance system is asking about hard copies, or they are asking us to keep hard copies with us. Then people felt this e-government has increased the burden rather than easing out their burden. So that is where we need to look at, so how it will ease burden on teachers, how it can make both teacher and students more creative learners is to be determined beforehand by teachers and head of the institution in order to work towards same goal. This is one. Use technology creatively. Use unsophisticated technologies like working platforms, Google Docs, Google Calendars, chatbots, or work management apps creatively in more ways. So we have one colleague of mine, my university, Professor Lokanand Reddy. He is very effectively using Google Forms and Google Sheets, Google Forms and Google Docs and Google Sheets and Google Forms for this particular kind of online evaluation process. So nowadays, even our research scholars are using Google Forms for data collection for their PhD. Google Docs are used for data collection. Google Sheets are used for some kind of a compilations. And I think chatbots, work management apps creatively in more ways. Integration of technological tools is useful in curating relevant content for students and creating resource spaces when delivering blended learning experience. TED uses animation videos to explain big and small ideas through story-based questions that require little technology but a lot of human thinking for learning journey. So such kind of Google apps, I think in our university for the last 2 years we have been using only Google apps to do our online teaching. The next one is clarity and consistency to be maintained. Instructions and expectations of blended learning course must be detailed specifically with the clarity to avoid any confusions among students. Instructions and expectations of blended learning courses must be detailed specifically with the clarity to avoid any confusions among students. So you need to give the instructions well in advance and inform the expectations. The patterns adopted should be regularized and consistent to support student success after giving room or time for finding right balance by experimenting what works best through trying new things, failing, innovating, and evolving. So the patterns adopted should be regularized and consistent to support students' success after giving room or time for finding right balance by experimenting what works best, trying new things, failing, innovating, and evolving. It's not that every experiment is going to be successful. So when I started teaching statistics through online mode, I was worried about how to write equations. Then initially I had tough time. So I started experimenting. So what kind of experiments I did? So on paper, I used it to write everything. Then I used it to scan and I used it to show them. That was the one model. The second one is, I was teaching through mobile, and for a while, the mobile, just I was taking a pen and paper and I was showing whatever I was writing on the mobile, and I have done it. The third time, what I have done is I bought a camera stand and I fixed my mobile camera and I used a board. I was doing it. The next level, I used some paint option in Microsoft MS Excel. So from there, with that paint box, I used it to write equations, but that writing was not so proper. Then I find it difficult. Later, I tried with a tab. So I have tried with a graphic tab and I connected with a graphic tab. And for the last 1.5 years, I have been doing a good job. So by using that, I'm able to do that. The second problem is when we started teaching online, so I used to depend on our university internet because I stay on University of Hyderabad campus. So when suddenly that internet stops working, what next? So then I used to have my mobile hotspot. But the mobile hotspot, sometimes, I had Airtel, the signals were not good. Then immediately what I did, I took one Geo SIM and I started using Geo. But sometimes these two are not working. Then immediately what I have done, some BSNL from landline, I got some internet. So these are the kind of options. And sometimes, there is no battery and then backup laptop. But when I use the backup laptop, most of the content, how do I use? Because my content is in one system and when I open the other system immediately, how do I get all my content? The next thing what I thought is I had OneDrive. So in OneDrive, I'm keeping all my files. So with OneDrive, I use it to open from my laptop or mobile from anywhere. So this is how over a period of time I have evolved. I don't think, I have got all this kind of experience overnight. So this is how it's a continuous process and I have some success stories. I have some failure stories, whatever. So we are now trying to do that, at the end of the day, if I ask my students, so now some students are saying that, in terms of explanation, there is not hardly any difference between offline and online teaching. So what we are trying to do is online teaching, whatever we are doing, we are trying to bring it close to the experience of offline learning. So the online learning, whatever we have, that we are trying to bring to the experience of very close to the offline kind of a learning mode. Harness knowledge community powered by socialization. Equally invest and plan engaging in online and real life communities. Use technological opportunities like Google Meets, Zoom, and to in-person meets to organize in groups for learning, sharing common information, peer reviewing and working together. So I think, if you wanted to teach online classes, you need to have some kind of a Google group. We need to have some kind of a Google group to send the messages through mail, or we can have a WhatsApp group. So sometimes even Facebook also can be used. Facebook also can be used for some kind of a communication. So the example is, the Pythonista Cave is a knowledge communities project where professional and enthusiast Pythonists organize and contribute with knowledge, information, resources. GitHub is an open workspace coding learning projects where people can view, review, and contribute with feedback. Take a student-centered approach, a more careful content and structure development with micro learning, more focused material, shorter courses and regular challenges, allowing students to navigate and engage with the process easily, as greater emphasis is on the needs and desires of each student. A more careful content and structure development with the micro learning, more focused material, shorter courses and regular challenges, allowing students to navigate and engage with the process easily, as greater emphasis is on the needs and desires of each student. For example, Skillshare understood that its purpose is to trade skills and that people often look for skills combinations. As a result, it chose to implement a tag system for each course page so that the student can see what other skills can be found in the course apart from the main skill set category the course falls under. Other examples are Byju's, EduCart, IGNO, etc. So that is a student-centric approach. I think I was also discussing about let us move from teacher-centric to student-centric. So track progress through data visualization and variety. Defining learning process through data visualization provides clear picture of students' engagement and give collective feedback on their performance. Defining learning processes through data visualization. So once you have the data, either in Excel form or maybe in the Google Sheets, wherever, and if you wanted to have a kind of a personalized the assessment tools, so then obviously you should be able to visualize So then as and when you wanted to know somebody's progress, you should be able to look at the progress, but it is data visualization. We have bar charts, graphs, whatever. Variety of customizable assessment and activates and learning tracking methods, be it charts, dashboards, or badge reward systems, or gamification, can be used as alternative assessment systems that supports learning differences and provide closer progress tracking for measuring each participant's involvement, thus eventually leading to better insights of overall performance. So variety of customizable assessment, activates, and learning tracking methods, be it charts or dashboards or badge reward systems or gamification, can be used as alternative assessment systems that supports learning differences and provide closer progress tracking for measuring each participant's involvement. So this is how we are trying to look into that. It could be chart, it could be dashboard, it could be badge reward, or it could be gamification. We are trying to use alternate assessment kind of systems. And even like for example, sometimes we can also think of having a 5 minutes quiz in between. So that also can be evaluated. So your 100 marks evaluation can be made into 20 components, 10 components, 15 components. Each component is going to have a different weightage, and each component objective is to aim something. So accordingly, you keep on implementing this. Then adapt through testing and feedback. Blended learning is a highly dynamic learning process as it highly relies on technology and content dependent. Hence, constant improvement or refinement of course design is necessary through adaptation based on constant feedback of the students at every step. So this is very, very important. So how frequently we are taking feedback from the students? So most of the time, we are taking feedback at the end of the semester. But why can't we take feedback for every 1 month, for every 15 days about the content and delivery and the design, and accordingly based on their progress, why can't we change? Why can't we change their kind of the adaptation based on the constant feedback of the students at every stage? So when we have this, kind of testing and feedback mechanism, when we take the feedback, you continuously improve the course design. So, but most of the time our course designs are very static. In terms of offline teaching, they're very static. Now we are suggesting to go for dynamic kind of a course design. That is what we are suggesting. The next one is approaches. So we have seen the benefits, we have seen principles, we are going to see the approaches to blended learning. So approaches to blended learning is in order to meet the demands of diverse group. Teachers have to tailor the learning experience by choosing how to blend in-person, online teaching and learning activities through different approaches of blended learning. While strategizing approaches of blended learning, various combinations of structures that help personalize subject matter for time concentration, learning needs, learning techniques, and personal preferences are implemented together so that students can function well. This is also known as a la carte model of blended learning. So what we are trying to look at is, we are now trying to look at the time consideration and learning needs, learning techniques, and the personal preferences are implemented together so that students can function well. So we are now, the various combinations of structures we are now trying to look at. See, our focus is not student-centric. It is student-centric. There is a difference between these two. Student-centric means, you are considering all students as one group. We think the all students are one group and all the students' expectations are same. With that assumption, we are going to approach. But whereas here, we are thinking that, student-centric. That means, when we have 50 students, so you are teaching to the requirements of all 50 students. So this is the uniqueness of this blended learning. So that is called, a la carte model, what we are saying. So here approaches to blended learning, the following are the sample approaches to blended learning activities. A blended face-to-face class. It is based in the classroom with significant time replaced by online activities, readings, quizzes, and other assessments are done online at home. So you can have the quiz and other assessments they can do at home, blended face-to-face class. This model allows students and faculty to share more high-value instructional time because class time is used for higher order learning activities such as discussions, role plays, mentoring, and group projects. If you look at our typical classroom experiences, we would be spending a lot of time on discussing the basics, fundamentals. There's nothing wrong in it, but we should also leave some part of it to the students to go and read. But now if you have 100% syllabus, don't teach 100%. You teach only 80%. The 20% of the syllabus, 20% of the syllabus, you expect the students to learn on their own. Which 20% is an important question. So that is what we need to understand. We need to understand. For example, when I'm going to start a course in second semester, but the first semester course is the basics of first semester course are very important. But we have not taught that course. Somebody else taught that course. So what you do is this first semester students, first semester course, whatever they have studied, that first semester content, whatever they have, that first semester content, let them go through that content on their own and come back to the class so that we can save some time. Otherwise, what we do, initial 5, 6, 7 classes, we would be only revising the last semester content. So but then let them go through on their own, and within 1 or 2 sessions, you try to revise and you try to ask them various kind of questions. The next one is rotation. Students rotate between various modalities in their schedules. Rotation can be teacher-directed structured learning sessions or online self-directed manner, and is generally structured around defined blocks of time where students are typically working in small groups with an assistant using instructive, interactive, and adaptive technology. There are various submodels: station rotation, lab rotation, flipped rotation, and individual rotation. Students rotate between various modalities in their schedules, number 1. Number 2, it can be teacher-directed structured learning sessions or online self-directed manner, and is generally structured around defined blocks of time where students are typically working in small groups with the assistant using instructive, interactive, and or adaptive technology. So for example, station rotation. What is this station rotation? If you look at the station rotation, it requires students to move between stations in the classroom at an instructor's discretion within set periods of time and a defined single space. So here, the station requires students to move between the stations within the class, in the classroom at an instructor's discretion. So they are moving from one station to other station. Lab rotation requires students in a course to rotate among locations on campus, at least one of which is an online learning lab. So locations on campus, rotation among the various locations, and out of which one is the learning lab. The individual rotation. The student rotates through learning modalities on an individualized, customized schedule, thus participate in stations that are targeted at their specific needs. So there are various stations, and they keep on individual rotation and lab rotation and station rotation. The flipped rotation it is the reverses of traditional class structure. Students access content by watching short lecture video online prior to class meetings, thus allowing in-class time to be used to assess individual understanding of the content and the active engagement of that content via one-on-one group collaborative work. These activities are targeted at helping students to achieve a deeper understanding of the subject matter. The flipped rotation you are exposing the student to the recorded video before they come to the class, so that you can have a higher order discussions in the class. The lab rotation requires students in a course to rotate among locations on the campus, at least one of which is an online learning lab. In the similar way, individual rotation a student rotates through learning modalities on an individualized, customized schedule. That means that each student, you are giving a specific kind of a rotation plan, and student would be moving that participate in stations that are targeted at their specific needs. So that means this is typically like a hospital, because I teach operations management. In a hospital, we have a reception and we have several facilities. There are some people will visit 4 facilities, some people will visit 6 facilities, some people will visit 2 facilities, some people visit 10 facilities. So each patient visit the hospital with a specific need, So now that is what is the individual rotation. But for sometimes what happens, if you say, I think you are going for a master health checkup. So all the people who have taken that master health checkup, they will follow the same pattern. So there is no option for them. But whereas the individual rotation, you suggest you are supposed to move from these many stations, these many places. That is what is individual. Then the next one is flex. Most of the curriculum content is emphasized through individual digital platform, and teachers are available for face-to-face consultation, small group interactions, and support based on need. This model is designed to allow students to work at their own pace by controlling their learning path while still having the opportunity for face-to-face engagement to bolster their understanding and clarify doubts through mentors. So here the flex is, now I'm saying that, all of you should go through this content before come to the class. That is one model. But in the flex is, it is the individual digital platform and the teachers are available for face-to-face consultation, the small group interactions and support based on need. This model is designed to allow students to work at their own pace. The whole idea of this blended learning is student can study at their own pace. Student can learn at their own pace because our classes are not homogeneous groups. They are heterogeneous. When the classes is heterogeneous, because if you look at classroom, we have a student with 90% score and a student with 30%, 40%, 50% score in entrance examination. But how can I manage all of them? So first of all, we need to understand all students are not same, they are different. And each student has got his or her own kind of a mindset, learning pace, strategy to understand, then activeness, passiveness, responsiveness, proactiveness, reactiveness, inactiveness, hyperactiveness. So we used to have varieties of students in the class. So now there are some slow learners. Somebody is coming from Telugu medium, coming to English medium first time. So you should be able to design for such a student a kind of a different kind of a mode. But at the end of the day, that person should be able to compete with any other student of the class. But you need to give them very customized kind of an approach, so that you may be sometimes available to the students on individual mode or group mode. It need not be a class. I think 4 or 5 students, come together to online platform and they seek your appointment and you start engaging them. The next one is self-blend. Yeah, how this blended learning is helpful for inclusive classrooms. Yes. Yeah. So here, yes. So how do we make class inclusive? Some of the strategies now, I think the flex, whatever I said, is there. But still, the inclusivity, even offline classes also, we cannot ensure 100% inclusivity, number one. In my regular classroom situation, offline or online situation, what I did is, I requested one of my senior scholars to conduct tutorials for the students. I used it to take the actual sessions in the morning, and evenings my scholar used it to conduct some kind of online kind of tutorials. Number one. Number two, I used it to give my last semester videos to the students if they want. I use it to give my last semester videos to the students. I requested them, if they have any difficulty in understanding first time, let them go through the video one day before and come to the class and understand better. This is the second approach I have given. The third approach is, for example, if I, after teaching some 6 or 7 classes, I use it to keep one class blank deliberately. In that particular class, we use it to revise and we use it to have interaction. We use it to clarify doubts and so on. And also I am encouraging my students to approach me through WhatsApp as and when there is a problem. And I use it to give them some advice. Yes, I know this is a time-taking process when the class size is very large. But it is a kind of a necessary approach to take everybody along with us. A self-blend is involved delivering a portion of a student's course load online. These courses complement the courses delivered using more traditional approaches and modes. In-person seminars, lectures, and labs involve delivering a portion of a student's course load online. So this is what I was asking you. See, 80% of the content you are teaching and 20% of the content you are asking your students to give seminars. in-person seminars, lectures, and labs. The self-blended content can be delivered in a variety of locations, in school or outside school, in the form of webinars or industrial visits and blogs. Sometimes, you can ask your students to write in blogs, whatever they wanted to write, their reflections in blogs. Let them write some essays in the form of webinars, industrial visits, and enabling student choice regarding time and place. This structure helps self-motivated learners dwell deeper into a subject. So now, sometimes what happens, most of the time when we go for offline teaching, we keep average student in the mind. So most of our teaching is designed to suit the average student, but in the process, there are some very intelligent students may get disconnected. So then how do we address that? So this is possible with this self-blend approach. Self-blend approach. Next, gamification. One of the most effective ways to motivate learners is by letting them play. By using gameplay elements such as points or levels, learners feel a little competition and are more motivated to experience and material on their own time. So sometimes it is not possible for all kinds of subjects. In some subjects, it is possible. So teaching through games. See, for example, there is one IIM Lucknow professor. So he used to teach leadership through Lagan movie. So what he does is he used to ask the students to watch Lagan movie, and he used to take each and every aspect of Lagan and relate to the leadership theories. Or even some other professor takes that Check Day India movie and discusses about teamwork. And some other professor takes Tare Zameen Par, discuss about creativity. And some professor takes the Three Idiots movie and explain about innovation and startups. So sometimes, teaching through games, teaching through movies, teaching through games, teaching through plays, that is role play. So teaching through maybe the field work, teaching through surveys, teaching through industrial visits, teaching through internships. I think we have n number of approaches to engage students, and gaming is one such approach. Then online lab. All of the curriculum is delivered via a digital platform, but it is in a consistent physical location where usually traditional classes are taken. This blended learning model is entirely digital with little or no instructor interaction and takes place either before or during or after a training. This is an online lab. Okay. So I think it is 5 o'clock. I'll stop here. And if you have any specific questions, I would like to answer. Yes. Yeah, now it is 5 and it is time for question answers. If you have any specific questions, please share your questions in the chat box and we will discuss. Thank you.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, kindly ask them in the chat box. Sir is there and he is going to answer your questions. So I think right from the beginning, sir has been very interactive in his presentation, and whatever questions the participants had, probably they already asked the questions during the session itself. Still, in case any of the participant has got any of the question, now is the time for you to ask. You can kindly chat or type your question in the chat box. Otherwise, with the permission of everybody present, I would like to end this program. This particular session for of today's session, I'd like to end. If you've got any questions, please ask them right away. So I think Professor Raj Shaker, thank you very much for engaging the participants, and you have been right from the beginning very participative in your approach, and you've rightly taught the participants what is blended learning, You have also discussed the role of the teacher in blended learning. And one important thing that we liked in your presentation was that you asked the students what was their opinion about blended learning, and then you went ahead and explained the entire concept to them. So this is what is required in our regular teaching also. We need to gain an understanding of what the participants already know and try to add on to what they already know. So thank you, Professor Raj Shaker, for that excellent and very, very informative and useful session. Was very informative, and I hope that the participants really enjoyed your session. Thank you very much, Professor Raj Shaker, for being with us. And I also thank each and every participant for being very cooperative and listening to the speaker and trying to get maximum advantage of the knowledge of the resource person. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Ravindranath, and thank you, my dear participants. Very happy to interact with all of you. So now I think since this pandemic is over, so let us look for more opportunities to meet physically and interact. And of course, my contact details are there in my slide, and go to my website, and also you can get my information. You Google it out, you can get my contact details, and let us be in touch. And definitely after the completion of this workshop, you will be getting more and more insights about blended learning. Thank you very much for your active participation, and I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And another very important announcement to all the participants is that tomorrow, again, the session is going to begin exactly at 3 o'clock. And I would request all the participants to log in exactly at 3. And as I was also telling in the beginning of the session, that the participation certificate will be given to all the participants who attend for all the 5 days this week and the 5 days the coming week. Tomorrow we have got Dr. Deepa coming and interacting with us from Guru Nanak Dev University, Chandigarh. Madam is a very resourceful person, and I hope that you all will take advantage of the expertise of Madam, because she is the head of the Department of Education, and she is into educational psychology and educational technology programs. I hope you take advantage of this session. So with your permission, I thank each one of you for being there, and kindly do join us tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thank you.